But he missed 21 games. He missed 82 games. He missed 53 games. He missed 12 games. He missed 52 games.
Okay, well, what's the answer? Because there are multiple. I'm not sure how many NBA players there are in the NBA, but they've been playing 82 games for a long time. Injuries do happen.
There are a lot of things that go into it. But
at this rate,
with Zion,
we haven't been able to play. We haven't been able to play a full season yet today.
But here's the thing, Ojo. When you talk about a man his size, when have you seen somebody that size, that explosive?
See you later. Go ahead, Zion. Whatever you like.
We're now tuned in to the Dark Times Challenge.
I feel very, very bad for the Pelicans in the city of New Orleans because Zion Williamson is a star caliber talent. When he is on the court and healthy, he's a monster. The problem is he's rarely available. And as great as he is, the word bust comes to mind, not because of his talent. I'm only talking his availability. If you're not available, it doesn't matter how great you are.
And so absolutely, Stephen A. Smith is right on the money. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how great you are. Availability beats talent every day of the week. And coming out of high school, when I was watching Zion like everybody else and in awe at the physical specimen that he was, and some of you guys don't like it when I use the term freak. They think it's demeaning, but I mean it in the best possible way. Zion Williamson was a freak show. And somebody that big, that powerful, that explosive, jumping the way that Zion does, and not only jumping the way that he does, but also landing the way that Zion Williamson lands and the way that he did land, especially during high school. I knew it wasn't going to last.
Did Zion Williams, before entering the draft, despite how great he was coming in, did he have an injury history? Was he injury prone?
No. But you have to understand, you go from playing, 25, 30 games in high school, 30, 35 games in college. If you go all the way to the Final Four, right, trying to play 82. More demands on the body, more grueling. Hey, back-to-backs. You ain't paying, you're not playing back-to-back in college. You're not playing back-to-backs in high school.
And Shannon Sharp and others who chimed in on the subject are halfway right. The NBA schedule, the 82-game schedule that the NBA has, that played a part in it. Playing back-to-backs and traveling and such, that played a hand in the injuries that Zion has accumulated over his NBA career, but that's not the gist of it. The main reason why Zion can't stay healthy, especially when we're talking about his lower extremities, it has a lot to do with the way he lands. And I hate to do it, I really do, because a lot of people are going to come at me in the comment section, but I have to do it. I have to bring LeBron James into the conversation. Because LeBron James has a lot to do with how the NBA and NBA players within today's game dunk. Before LeBron James came into the league, or before he came into the scene, even in high school, people had somewhat of a different dunking style. But once LeBron came out, and I'm part of it too, I'm a part of the conversation too, because I was one of those ones that wanted to emulate LeBron James and his dunking style. And I wound up breaking my ankle. And I'm not blaming LeBron James. It's really the ultimate compliment, because LeBron James is 101. And so he's blessed to be able to do some things and have the longevity to be able to do those things that a lot of people just can't do. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about how you land after you dunk and why it's important. And so most people listening to me right now probably have no idea as to what I'm talking about when it pertains to how you land after you dunk. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to give you guys some examples real quick. I'm going to give you guys some examples of how not to land after you dunk. And I'm going to show you the NBA players that do this. I'm going to give you the bad examples first, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to give you a good example so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is a good learning lesson. You guys may have some kids at home, or maybe you're listening, you're a player right now yourself and you're a dunker. This may give you some more longevity to whatever it is. Maybe you're just playing at the YMCA, maybe you're playing in the NCAA. But regardless, if you listen to this, this is going to help add years, not just to your basketball career, because anybody can play basketball, but to your athletic ability, which we all know is extremely important. Now, here's an example right here. Now, granted, this was an alley-oop, and for most of you guys who know that are dunkers, sometimes when you catch an alley-oop, you just got to catch it how you can, and sometimes you're going to put yourself in vulnerable situations when you're trying to catch an alley-oop. But nevertheless, this is an example of what I'm talking about. Pay attention to how he lands and pay attention to the vulnerable position that not only his knee is in, but his ankle is in. And here's another good example right here, another alley-oop, but a perfect example of what I'm talking about when it comes to the recklessness of a LeBron James. And like I said, I mean this in the best possible way. He's one-on-one. Not many people can do this and have the longevity that LeBron James has had. Because right here, he could have easily taken the time to hang on the rim for a half a second and make sure that he comes down on both feet. But instead of doing that, he puts all of 260 or 280 pounds, however much he was weighing at that particular time, he puts all that weight on one knee and one ankle. And as big and as strong as LeBron James is, we're talking about very fragile muscles and very fragile bones when we're talking about the knee and the ankle. And so in contrast, compare that with a Zion Williamson in his frame. And Zion Williamson is about 6'6", 6'7", weighing 280 pounds, probably closer to 300 maybe at his heaviest. And one of the reasons why LeBron James can get away with doing what he's done over a career is because he does have a 6'9", darn near 6'10" frame. And so that's a lot of muscle, but it's over a larger frame. And when he lands, the impact is going to be a little bit different because he's not coming down as far. Zion can jump through the roof, but the downside is he's got to come down. And when he comes down, he's coming down on very small muscle groups that weren't designed for that kind of impact over a long, sustained period. And before I get to some of the good examples on how you should land or how you should come down after you dunk, I'm going to go ahead and show one more example of how you shouldn't land. And this one's a good case study right here because this one is none other than Derrick Rose. And so this is unfortunate right here because when it comes to Derrick Rose, you know, one of the reasons why he's so beloved is because of the nature in which he played the game, and in particular, the nature in which he dunked the basketball. He was a very ferocious dunker, unafraid, and that worked to his disadvantage, as we all know now, because this is a perfect example right here. If he would have taken the time, like I stated before, just to hang on the rim for a half a second, but instead on this particular play, it looks like he was actually caught in between. He was caught in between trying to throw it down and just put the ball through the hoop like he normally does, but then he was also actually thinking about hanging on the rim. And so this is when he actually got caught in between, and actually I'm surprised he didn't hurt his knee or his ankle on this particular play. It looks like he may have tweaked it a little bit right here, but this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. There's no need to have to come down on one ankle and one knee. And this is another example right here. This is a breakaway dunk right here. He's got the goal all to himself. He can do whatever he wants. He's got all of his dunks at his disposal. And what does he do? He goes reverse dunk, no hang on the rim. That's a lot of pressure on one knee and one ankle, especially being 6'2", 6'3", coming down from the height that he's coming down from. There's just no need for it. And like I said, it's unfortunate because as fans, we appreciate it. We love it. We want to see more of it. But from the player's point of view, it doesn't equal to longevity unless you're a LeBron James. And we could go down the list. I could show you highlight clips from Paul George, Blake Griffin, a long list of NBA players who had this same kind of carefree dunk style. And we all know how their careers ended up, or at least how their athletic ability deteriorated over the years, mainly because of how they dunked. But I'm going to get to some of the better examples. And who better to show us how to land after you dunk than the Godfather himself, Michael Jordan.
Hung out over Alonzo Mourning, yes!
And so this is a perfect example right here. Pay attention to the half second that Michael Jordan hangs on the rim and the half second that he takes to gather himself, lands with his knees bent and ready to get back on defense. Not only is it better for his knees and better for his ankles, better for his joints overall, but it's also efficient. So now when he lands, he's not out of position. He's not trying to gather his balance and gather himself to get back on defense. When he lands, as soon as he lands, he's ready to get back on defense. So it's a highly functional way to dunk. It's a highly functional way to land after you dunk. And if you watch Jordan dunk, he did this pretty much darn near every time he dunked. Now, of course, there's always going to be exceptions. You can find him off balance here and there, but for the most part, this is how he dunked. And this is probably the best example that you're going to find right here. Breakaway dunk. Michael Jordan, he can do whatever he wants. There's not a dunk that he couldn't do. But watch how he dunks and watch how he lands. Knees bent so his ankle and knees can absorb that shock. And then also he can bounce right back, turn the other way, and get back on defense. And I'm going to go ahead and just leave it right there. Because if you're a dunker, if you're young, and you still got fresh knees, fresh ankles, first of all, I envy you. Have fun with it while you can. But pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. Maybe break some bad habits that you have right now while you're still young. And you'll put a lot more years on those knees and those ankles. Because this right here is how you want to do it. You want to keep that buoyancy. And like I said, not only is it good for your knees and your joints, it's going to make you much more efficient at being a better basketball player. I know it's nice to be able to show off once in a while and do some crazy dunks, some LeBron James-like dunks. But those should be reserved maybe for a dunk contest or two, or when you're trying to show out for some baddies sitting courtside. But like I said, save those knees and save those joints. And this is something that I wish Zion Williamson would have done, and probably more so than anybody else, because if anybody needed to take this advice, is Zion Williamson. That 280-pound, 300-pound frame that he had dunking the way that he dunked, it wasn't going to last. It was never meant to last. And it's unfortunate because it looks like he's going to have somewhat of a rocky career as far as staying healthy goes. But who knows? Who knows? Hopefully he can turn it around and he can get with somebody to teach him how to land properly and work on his diet and nutrition and keeping his weight down. That'll go a long way as well. And so hopefully, like I said, he can turn it around and have a long, productive, and healthy career. But that's it. That's all I had on this one. Make sure you guys go ahead and try to keep the conversation going on below. And as usual, peace and chaos.